Alright guys, and welcome back to the Saints Video channel for Southampton content, but today is a little bit different. We're back to Premier League content, as you can tell by the title of the video. The 2020-21 season is fast approaching, so I've got Liam with me. We're going to share our Premier League predictions as everyone does at this time of the year. Now, of course, disclaimer, like I said last year, like I say every year, these are our opinions. Please don't get salty, don't get offended. If you're a little keyboard warrior in the comments, you're wasting your time. We just don't read them. So, by all means, let us know what you think. But yeah, we don't really read them. But anyway, before we get into the video, do make sure you've hit that subscribe button with your notifications turned on. We're trying to get to 3,000 subscribers as soon as possible, so your help would be massively appreciated with that. Follow us on our socials as well if you haven't yet already. Right, let's get into it. Right, we're going to start off with bottom of the league. I've gone with newly promoted West Brom. Now, they scraped promotion in the end last season. I mean, how Brentford bottled it, I don't know. They haven't strengthened really. They got Matheus Pereira on a permanent deal and that's it. I think they're headed straight back down. I do like Bilic, but looking at their squad, I just can't see any Premier League quality there. Liam, mate, who have you put at 20th?
Yeah, I've agreed with you there. I've put West Brom down. I do like West Brom, but as you say, they have not strengthened at all this summer. They have a great Championship squad in the Premier League. Obviously, Matheus Pereira is the only player they brought in. Obviously, he's going to be a massive help for them to stay up, but I just can't see them staying up with the squad they've got, unfortunately. Slaven's a great manager, but with that squad, I just can't see them staying up, unfortunately, unless they bring in some Premier League experienced players.
Yeah, and then obviously we're filming this, I think, a month before the transfer window ends, so of course it can all change for any team. In 19th, I might change it later on, but at the moment I've put Fulham. Now, newly promoted as well, they haven't impressed me in the window yet. They have signed two of Southampton's players in Harrison Reed and Mario Lemina. Of course, Harrison Reed was excellent for them in the Championship last year and definitely deserves that move. Lemina, we've seen him blow hot and cold. I don't think he's going to be the player that can keep Fulham up. And apart from that, they haven't really made any key signings. I mean, Mitrovic, great forward, of course. Kenny on his day is decent, but last time they were in the Premier League, he wasn't great. I don't know. I just feel like Fulham are headed straight back down once again this year. Liam, what do you think?
Yeah, we are copying each other, guys. But I've also gone for Fulham. I just said they haven't really strengthened in the areas they need strengthening. Like, they brought in Harrison Reed, which is obviously going to be imminent. He was brilliant for them last year, but Mario Lemina is. If he turns out brilliant for them, fair enough. But I feel he's pointless signing with them having Seri back from his loan at Galatasaray. He did play with Lemina, and Guisa coming back from, I think it was Villarreal. I don't know, but he might be going. Seri might be going. I don't really know. I think they're strengthening them in the wrong areas. They need to have a better defence. Their defence was good in the Championship, but is it good enough for the Premier League? I don't know, and they have to keep Mitrovic fit, because if he's not fit, they don't have another striker who's going to come in and score them 10-15 goals per season. So Mitrovic is key. Yeah, moving on to the final relegation spot. Now, this is controversial. I hate to say it, but I've put Newcastle. I really fear for them this season. Their squad is thin. I still think Steve Bruce is a very average managerial appointment. I thought that last year, okay, he did well to keep them up. But I just can't see where the goals will come from. You know, they hardly scored any goals last season. They were one of the worst defensive sides in the entire league. They were lucky that they were able to be relatively tight at the back. They had injury issues last year. I just can't see it for them this year. I think the fact that the takeover hasn't happened will be a massive blow. And I really fear for Newcastle, and I think, unfortunately for them, they're headed down to the Championship. Liam, mate, who have you put in 18th? This might be a bit controversial, but I've gone for Aston Villa. Last season, they were very lucky to stay up, and they're relying too much on Jack Grealish, and I just can't see it happening this season. They really need a striker who's going to score 15-20 goals a season, and I can't see it being Wesley or Samatta. And they really need to strengthen at the back as well. They're very lucky. To be fair, their defence did tighten up after the lockdown. And obviously missing Tom Heaton was massive. But if Villa do not strengthen this window, I just can't see them staying up.
Well, going on to 17th, narrowly scraping survival. Once again, I've put Aston Villa. I think it's going to be an incredibly tight season for them. Like Liam said, they need to strengthen in the window. They can't be relying on Grealish. But I think they might just have that extra little bit of quality, especially if Grealish stays and they can get another player in. I think they'll be able to manage just about survival. What do you think, mate?
I've gone for Newcastle in 17th. Obviously, you've predicted them to go down, which I can see as well. It's like with Aston Villa, they rely too much on St. Maximin, and they cannot rely on that. I've heard things about them bringing in Callum Wilson. I think that's a good sign if they do, but the way Steve Bruce plays is fairly negative. They rely on a strong defence with Lascelles and Fernandes, and if they just don't strengthen their attacking options, they lack that creative touch. And if they do not strengthen there, they could easily go down. But I think they'll stay up because their defence is fairly solid with the Bradford and goals. So Newcastle in 17th for me.
Well, going on to 16th, I've put Crystal Palace. Now, it really wouldn't surprise me if they actually get relegated come the end of the season. You saw it with Watford and Bournemouth last year, you know, teams that have been in the league for a long time, but they run out of ideas. Palace look like they might be doing the same. You look at how poorly they finished last season post-lockdown. You know, they've got an ageing squad. It looks like Hodgson's kind of run out of ideas almost. I think Eze's a great signing. Will he be replacing Zaha? Will Zaha be there next year? We'll have to see. But for me, I can't see much quality in that team anymore. I mean, Zaha had a pretty poor season for his standards anyway last campaign. The fact that they had Jordan Ayew scoring the goal says a lot. I really don't think they're going to be up to much this season. Then go for it.
Yeah, I've also gone for Crystal Palace in 16th. Obviously, they rely on Zaha. There's so many teams who rely on one player, and they just can't afford to do that this season. And saying that, Zaha had an awful season. 4 goals and 3 assists. Lewis Dunkley done that for Brighton. He's a centre-back, you know. Obviously, Eze's a great signing. 20 million, 16 million plus 4 add-ons. But they've done it once again. 20% release clause. What are you thinking? This is why Zaha is not going. You want 80 million for a player that has a 20% release clause at Man United. That's why they ask for so much money. And no one is going to pay that for a player who produces 4 goals and 3 assists for a season. If Eze and Zaha can get linking this season, I really think they could be a threat. But Palace still need a number 9. They lack that creative touch. They do not. They do everything right. And when it comes to a striker, they cannot finish. I think a player like Ollie Watkins would be superb for Palace, and if they get a player like him in, they could go need top half. But if they don't, I think it's 16th for Palace, unfortunately.
Moving on to 15th, where we're sort of getting into relatively comfortable mid-table. I've gone for newly promoted Leeds. Now, I really don't know what to expect from them this season. I think so far in the transfer window, they've obviously shown intent by signing Rodrigo for £30 million. However, 29, I think maybe they could have spent their money better elsewhere. However, I think Bielsa's a great coach. It's going to be really exciting to see how he finally does in the Premier League. I think for Leeds this year, it's about staying up. I think that's probably the bare minimum for them. They don't want to go back down to the Championship. I think they just need to lay down foundations this year to build upon for future seasons, because I do think there are funds to spend. I do think they're an ambitious club, but this year I think comfortable survival, 15th, I think most Leeds fans would take that. They're not going to get top half, they're not going to push for Europe. I don't even think they'll get anywhere near the top 12. I think 15th would be a good finish for them, and that's where I see them this season. Liam, who have you put in 15th?
I've gone for Graham Potter's Brighton. Obviously, they did finish 15th last season. I think they'll finish 15th again. The thing with Graham Potter, I really like him. I think Brighton plays some superb football, but they changed the system too much. They play a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2, a 4-2-2, a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3. They need a system to stick with and to find with. And they miss a number 9 as well. Neil Maupay did really well last season, scored 10 goals, but they need someone alongside him who's going to score the goals as well, because it's a bit the same with Palace. They lack that striker who's going to score them 15-20 goals a season. You can't rely on Trossard and Maupay to do it all. They need someone else. Ben White is magnificent, signed a new contract. Again, Brighton are going to be fine defensively. It's whether they can score goals. And if they do, they can push for top half, but I can see them finish in 15th.
Yeah, well, in 14th, I've put that team, Brighton. I do think they'll go one better than they did last year. I think Adam Lallana, you know, decent signing to get him on a free. I think some of their fans did overreact about that signing, thinking that it was going to instantly get them top half. He's not that good, I can tell you now, from a first-hand perspective. But I like what Graham Potter's doing at Brighton. I think he's got a good philosophy. They, like you said, they just need to be a bit more consistent, hopefully score a few more goals. Because I think relatively they're solid at the back. Getting Dunk on a 5-year deal was a massive boost. Obviously, Ben White seems to be integrated into the squad this year. I do think they can have a good season. I think they can finish higher than 14th. But for me, this time, I just think they need a few more additions to make me a bit more confident as an outsider that they'll score goals that a top 12 side would score, or even at some point a top half side. But for me, I think they'll finish 14th. Who have you put in 14th, mate?
I've put West Ham. This might be a bit controversial, but my opinion on West Ham isn't great. They have a magnificent squad for where they are, but they haven't really turned up for the Premier League. Felipe Anderson is superb. Haller is superb. Fornells, Bowen, Yarmolenko, Declan Rice. But if they really want to be pushing for Europe, unfortunately, David Moyes is not the man for me. He's coming twice now to save their bacon to keep him up. And I think if they really want to progress, he's not the man for them.
I will go on to West Ham in a minute. For me, anyway, yeah, we can talk about them now. They're my 13th, so we're very close on this one again. I think, well, let's talk about West Ham now. I really, really fear for them actually this season. I think they will do better than what they did, but I sympathise with their fans, you know, because I think they have been linked with a couple of the players that we've been linked with. You know, I think they were linked with Walker-Peters at one point. They were linked with Salisu. And obviously other teams who have gone and gotten players, like for example Everton have gotten a couple of midfielders in, for example. These are players West Ham have been linked with and they're not going for them. They're not showing ambition as a club, and as a result they're not going to be progressing forward. They're only going to be declining. You know, to be honest, they were lucky to avoid relegation last year. They were absolutely woeful, and again I think David Moyes is good enough to keep them up. But that shouldn't be the expectation. That shouldn't be the target for West Ham. They should be in the conversation for at least top half. With the stadium, with the amount of money that they spent on transfers, it really is a shambles there at the moment. But who have you put in 13th, mate?
I've gone for Sheffield United. I think last season was absolutely superb. Chrissy Wilder, fair play. Their players really stepped up from the Championship to the Premier League, finishing 9th, which was superb. But I think this year they will not be challenging for Europe. I think mid-table is good enough for Sheffield United. I think even staying up, you know. Sheffield United are a brilliant club, brilliant fans, brilliant players, but they've got so many strikers, but they lack the player who's going to score them like 15, 20 goals a season. I've mentioned it so much in this video. But I think if Sheffield United really want to progress, they need that attacking creativity, because they're absolutely fine at the back. It's just whether they can score more goals. And if they want to push for Europe, then that's what they need to do, really. Moving
on to my 12th spot, I've actually put Sheffield United. I think they're going to do a little bit worse than last season, but still a pretty solid side. I don't think they'll have relegation worries. I think they've got enough at the back. They just have to stick to their strength, which is defending, because at the moment I can't see a goal scorer in that team. Again, like Liam said, they won't be pushing for the top half of Europe this year, in my opinion, but I think if I'm a Sheffield United fan and we've just been promoted from the Championship League One a couple of years ago and we're finishing 9th and 12th in our first 2 seasons back in the top flight, I'd absolutely snap your hand off for that. But who have you put in 12th, mate?
I've gone for Burnley. You know, Sean Dyche is a magnificent manager for Burnley, but I can see him resigning if Burnley do not give him the funds to sign any players. I think Saints moan a lot about obviously us not getting any funds, but Burnley, they don't even put a penny in the club, mate. It's awful. They haven't signed no one this year. They signed keeper Will Norris. Most pointless signing ever, you know. They don't need a keeper. They need elsewhere. They need quality who's going to start on the pitch. Like last year, it got to a point where they're having to play Eric Peters at left mid. They shouldn't be doing that, you know. And honestly, if they don't put a penny for Sean Dyche, I can see him leaving. But obviously, Burnley are built on a defensive foundation. They're pretty solid at the back, and they rely on Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes up top, and I think 12th will be a solid finish for Burnley this season.
It's actually really funny how similar our tables are, because in 11th I've put Burnley, like you said, built on defensive foundations, could do with a few more players. I think Chris Wood's a decent striker. They were unlucky to have Ashley Barnes out for a big part of the season last year, but still so well to get top half, which I think was massively underrated. I think they'll have another good season. I don't think they need to be worrying about relegation, but I think this year they'll probably just miss out on that sort of top half area. But moving on to your 11th spot, mate, who have you put there?
I've gone for Leeds United. Obviously, you put them to go 15th, but I really have high hopes for Leeds this year. I don't think it's a case like Aston Villa last year and Fulham, where they spent a lot of money, and then spent it in the wrong areas. Where Leeds are actually spending it in the right areas, like they need Rodrigo. Bamford is not clinical enough for a Premier League striker, let alone Championship. Like, he scored 15 goals last season, but the amount of chances he missed, he should have had 30, you know. And if, obviously, Koch from Freiburg, obviously missing out Ben White, he's a good signing for 12.5 million. I think they're after a new centre-back and a new centre-mid to pull from Udinese. They're spending the money in the right areas, and I feel like under Bielsa, they'd be superb, and I think 11th place is good for Leeds.
Well, moving on to the top half, which is where it starts to get interesting. In 10th, this may be a bit controversial, but I've put Everton. At the moment, I'm still thinking they're a bit bang average. I think Ancelotti's a great manager, but looking at their team, you know, how poorly they did in spells last year, especially the way they finished the season, I really don't think they're going to be up to much this year. You know, of course, their fans want Europe. They want Everton to be pushing for that sort of 7th spot, even possibly the top 6, looking at what Leicester did last year. But at the moment, I just don't see it from Everton. I think James Rodriguez and Allen are great signings, but still, you look at Pickford, I think he's overrated in goal. I think their defence isn't amazing. Sigurdsson's ageing. Calvert-Lewin, he's great for 10 goals, but you know, can he do much more as a forward? I really don't think there's much going on at Everton, and if I was an Everton fan, I'd be thinking, yeah, we can get top half this year, but it's not going to be anything more than that. I really don't think they're going to be up to much this campaign. Who have you put in 10th, mate?
I put our team Southampton, yeah, I've literally gone smack bang in the middle. Raul Hasenhuttl obviously redeveloped us to 4-2. It's been an amazing season last year considering where we were. At one point in December we were 6 points off relegation, and then we finished 11th and comfortably above Everton and likes of that. But obviously we're going to play some great football next year, but we really do need a centre mid if we're going to push for that European spot, really. Cup run would be nice, but I think 10th is going to be good for us, and I'd be really happy if we finish 10th this season. Right,
moving on to 9th. Again, you know, some people may disagree with this one. I think top half is definitely where it gets controversial, but I put Leicester. Now, the way they finished last season was an absolute shambles. You can argue that that was because of the lockdown, but if you look at the second half of the season entirely, they were just woeful compared to what they've done the couple months prior. May have a better spell in Europe. Second half of the season, they showed that they can be poor, like I said. And maybe that spell in Europe will mean for them, you know, they prioritise other competitions. They may prioritise a cup run, for example. I just don't think they're going to be up to much this year. And if they want to get Europe again, I think it's going to have to be through the cups. Who have you put in 9th?
I've put Everton. I kind of agree with you with Everton. I think 9th, I think they've finished comfortably 9th with James Rodriguez and Allen. It's great science, but like you say, with Calvert-Lewin, he's done brilliant last year, getting 13 goals. But if you want to push for Europe, he is not your striker. He's not going to score 15, 20 goals on a consistent basis, you know. Are you going to play with Richarlison out wide? Are you going to play with Richarlison up front? If you're going to play your 4-4-2, where are you going to play James Rodriguez? Is he going to play left mid? He's going to be wasted out there. Allen's a great signing. Everton are a dodgy club. I can see him finishing 9th comfortably.
Right, moving on to 8th, and this may be a bit biased from me, but I've put our team Southampton. I think we're going to have a really, really strong campaign. That is assuming that we do get a new centre mid in. I think Ora Romeu is a good player, but we definitely need someone new to replace Højbjerg. Romeu's not the man, in my opinion. We've discussed it a lot as amongst other Saints fans. Like I said, I think we'll do bits. I think we finished the season so well last year. You know, we only lost 1 game out of the restart. Got a point at Man United, beat Man City. Even before the restart, beat Spurs, beat Chelsea away. You know, we were so good. We pulled off so many big scalps, and I think if we can start the season properly and, you know, get a couple of points under our belt, you know, not be losing 9-0, not be losing even 4-1 to Chelsea, I thought that was a shambles. You know, if we can start well and be a bit more consistent, we will be having a great finish and a great season and knocking on the door of Europe. Who have you put in 8th, mate?
I have gone for Leicester. I've said this so many times to Leicester. They have absolutely bottled Champions League, and if I was a Leicester fan, I'd honestly be fuming. Even though 5th is brilliant for Leicester after these last couple of seasons, but being 24 points above Man United, and Man United finishing 3rd and you're finishing 5th, that is an absolute shambles. I'm sorry. I love Leicester as a football club. Not love. I like Leicester as a football club. But they lack that creative touch. Without Ben Chilwell, you can't rely on Jamie Vardy and James Maddison to do it all for you. You need wingers. Harvey Barnes is good, but if you want to go for Champions League, 6 goals and 6 assists is not enough. You need a new right wing. Paris has done kind of well there, but he isn't a natural right wing. Obviously, you're trying to replace Ben Chilwell, and you're going for a right back. I know he can play left back from Atlanta's Castagna or something like that, but I think 8 for Leicester, especially as they're playing Europe this year, so it's going to be a lot of games for them.
Right, then on to 7th. This should be a Europa League spot this season. Obviously, last year it wasn't. I put Wolves now. I think the fact that they won't be in Europe this year could actually benefit them a lot. I think they can prioritise more on the league, possibly even in the cups. You know, they could go and win a cup. I think they've still got a great squad, but I do feel like this is the last year that we will see Wolves at a top level, and you know, if they are going to ever get the Champions League, it has to be this year. I think at some point Nuno's contract's going to run down, he's going to go off, he'll want to go somewhere else. They haven't actually spent a lot this summer at all. I think ambitions lacked a little bit this summer. You know, maybe that's because they've had 2 massive summer windows prior, but I think the likes of Jimenez, Traore, even Matinho in the middle, he's ageing a bit. Neves only gets better. I still think, you know, they've got a really good core there to go and push for Europe once again. And like I said, I think the fact that they're only going to be in 3 competitions this year as opposed to 4, I think that could benefit them. Who have you put in 7th?
Yeah, I've totally agree with you, mate. I've gone for Wolves. Potential Europa League spot. Like mate, it's everything. I agree with you. The fact that they're not going to be playing Europa League this year, it's going to be massive. They played over 65 games last season, and they started their season in July, you know, and finished it in August. You know, it was over a year period. I think they lack a lot of depth. Losing Matt Doherty is massive. They're going to have to replace him. He's pivotal to how Wolves play. I'm really surprised that they let him go, to be honest. Traore and Jimenez staying is going to be massive for them. Diego Jota's a great player, and I think Wolves haven't really spent this season, but they need to really focus on getting the depth more than their starting lineup. Obviously, like you said, Moutinho's Asian, but will Dundonko just slip into midfield there? Then they'll need a replacement for him. Gibbs White gone on loan, you know. So I think it's just about recruiting depth for Wolves. Right,
moving on to the top 6. In 6th, I've put Tottenham. So far, I think they've actually quietly had a decent enough window. Doherty's a great signing. I think Højbjerg could do well for them. Even getting Joe Hart as a backup, you know, he'll be a good backup goalie for them. I think that they could actually have a good run in the Europa League as well. Obviously not in the Champions League this year, and that may hinder their top 4 hopes. At the moment though, under Mourinho, I don't see a top 4 side. I don't think they'll be contesting, or they'll challenge, but I don't think they'll get there. I think at the moment for Spurs it's going to be another 6th place. They need to have a stronger start. Obviously, you look at how poor they were last year under Pochettino. I think that obviously was a big problem for them. I think if they continued, or if they had Mourinho from the start, possibly we'd be talking about a top 4 side once again for Spurs. But I think priorities lie elsewhere. At some point, this team has to win a trophy. You know, that's why they got Mourinho in. I do feel like priorities may lie elsewhere this year, whether that's in the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, Europa League. I just don't think we're going to see Spurs in the top 4 once again. I do think we can expect a good season from Spurs in other competitions. Who have you put in 6th, mate?
Yeah, I've totally agree with you, mate. I've gone for Tottenham as well. If Tottenham do not get a Champions League or do not win a trophy this year, I just can't see Mourinho staying at all. I can see him getting the sack at the end of the season. Spurs need something new. I don't know whether it's the manager or the players, because it must be the players if they do not win something under Mourinho, because the guy's won it all. Matt Doherty's a great signing, but with the system, is he going to suit right back? I don't know. Højbjerg is a great signing, but you've got so many midfielders. They've got Winks, Højbjerg, Lo Celso, Ali, Tanguy and Ndombele. The guy's gone missing. Who else they got? They got Dyer. Are they seriously going to play Dyer at centre back? I don't know. And especially if Kane gets injured again, they seriously need a backup striker. You can't afford Son and Lucas up front, because they're wide players at the end of the day. And I don't know about Tottenham this year. I don't think they could possibly win the Europa League, but I don't see it. Tottenham 6th.
Moving on to 5th, I've put Arsenal. I think with their North London rivals, it's going to be a very similar season for Arsenal. I think their transfer window so far decent. I think Gabriel's a great signing. Of course, they needed a better defender. But I just feel like they don't have that extra percent to get them over the line and getting a top 4 spot. Arteta, I've been very impressed with him. I mean, look, he's gone and won the FA Cup and Community Shield in a matter of weeks. It's a great start for him as Arsenal coach. But again, I think it might be like Spurs. Arsenal might prioritise the Europa League this season. They've got a great chance of winning it. I really think that this year, I just feel like the top 4 is a little bit beyond them this time around. I think, again, going to win an FA Cup, a Carabao Cup, they always want silverware. Arsenal is a big, big club. But I think one more season and they'll be there and ready for the top 4. If Aubameyang stays, of course, that's a massive deal. But of course, if he doesn't sign that new contract and they have to get rid of him at some point, then I can't see Arsenal finishing the top 4 still for a while. And that's obviously a shame. I like Arsenal as a football club. But this year I think they're going to miss out once again. But that may not necessarily mean that they miss out on Champions League football. Who have you put in 5th, mate?
Yeah, I've gone for the same. I've gone for Arsenal. I think their transfer window has been decent this season, getting Willian on a free. Gabriel for 27 million is a great defender. And obviously, Saliba is going to have his full first season as an Arsenal player. And they've developed a new system with 3-4-3. It looks like Danny Suarez is coming back on loan, which is massive. He's been a pivotal player for Arsenal last year, especially under Arteta. He performed a great partnership in midfield with Xhaka. Aubameyang's key to keep. I think he will sign a new contract. Eddie Nketiah looks like he's going to be the first choice striker over Lacazette. Pepe as well. I think if he doesn't turn up this season, then obviously I think he might be a bit of a flop. But I don't know. I think he's a great player. Bellerin, yeah, he's decent. Cedric, I think they hyped him up at the start of lockdown. And all I see over Twitter is get Cedric out. We told you, lads, Cedric is crap. Obviously, on Martinez stuff. I think Arsenal would prioritise Europa League. I think the only way they'll get in the Champions League if they do is if they do win the Europa League.
Right, moving on to the top 4 in Champions League. In 4th, I put Manchester United. I think they've got a decent squad. Having Fernandes from the off will be a big, big deal, and I think Man United fans can be enjoying this year a very mouth-watering midfield partnership of Fernandes and Van der Beek. I think Van der Beek's a great addition. It looks like Sancho won't be signing this year, at some point maybe. But they got over the line in the end last year and they finished the season so strongly. If they can maintain a bit of that form a bit more consistently throughout the season, I think they can have a great year. Looking at other competitions, it's been 3 years since they won a trophy. Need to start bringing a trophy home now, I think. Whether that's in a domestic competition or whether they exit the Champions League early and go to the Europa League. Personally, I don't think that will happen. If they do get to the knockouts of the Champions League, I think round of 16, maybe quarterfinals at the most. But I think they've got a good squad, a good mixture of experience and young players. I think there's a project going on at Man United, and I don't think necessarily Solskjaer's going to be the man that eventually lifts the Premier League title as Manchester United manager. But I think if you look at a 5-year plan, at some point they will have a serial winner as coach. And I do think within the next 5 years, potentially we could see Man United lift the league. There's definitely a project going on there, but this year I think it's going to be another case of just trying to get over the line in achieving top 4, maybe do something in the Champions League, win a trophy hopefully, and I think that'd be a successful season. Who have you put in 4th, mate?
I've gone for the same. I've gone for Man United. I think midfield of Van der Beek, Pogba and Bruno Fernandes is going to be massive, but Greenwood, Martial and Rashford as well. They done superbly last season, but can they keep Greenwood on that consistent level? Obviously, I don't know. I think the kid's sign. I think he's going to be the next Man United striker. But Jadon Sancho is massive. I think they seriously need to buy a natural right winger. I think I see Greenwood more now. I think he needs to play up front. If Martial or Rashford gets injured, he's an incredible replacement. They miss Rashford so much. I don't honestly look at if we did not have Corona with the lockdown and not having like Rashford back, having Dan James out there, I don't think United would have got a Champions League, and I think it was pivotal that they did. They need it back. They haven't been in there for a couple of years, and I think Man United will finish 4th.
Right, moving on to 3rd, and I've put Chelsea now. I think the title is a little bit beyond them at the moment, but what a transfer window they've had so far. It looks like Havertz is going to be joining, but the likes of, I can't even remember, there've been so many, I can't even remember. They got Saul on a free, didn't they? Werner, Ziyech, just a great mix of players and all areas that they needed to strengthen. I think they will be a title contender this year. I do think it's going to be a three-way race for the title. I think Liverpool and Man City still pit them in terms of quality, but give it a year when those signings are sort of integrated in the squad next year, they could be a real force to be reckoned with. And I think they will be again this year. I think Champions League they could do well. Again, probably want to win a trophy having lost the FA Cup final. Yeah, I think Chelsea fans should be really excited for their new season, and I'm pretty confident that they are. Who have you put in third, mate?
Yeah, I've gone for Chelsea as well. The signings have been magnificent. Like Ben Chilwell, 50 million. Is he worth that? Not at the moment, no. But I think he will under Frank Lampard. Thiago Silva buying him on a free for 2 years. It's brilliant. Chelsea need a new defence. Like I haven't said it yet, but Chelsea conceded the most goals out of the side in the top 10, and they finished third. That is a stat. Is shambolic. You can't be having that if they really want to push for the title next season. Thiago Silva's massive. I think Reece James will be that right back. I think SP won't play as much as he did. Kai Havertz is incredible sign. Mason Mount, I don't think he'll cut it. Chelsea. Kai Havertz is next level over him. Ziyech is massive. Great William replacement. Pulisic, if he can have the season that he stays fit, he was absolutely magnificent last year, and he really can be that Hazard replacement. And Timo Werner's a massive sign as well. I think they really need them. Tammy Abraham, I don't think it will cut. I can see him leaving personally, and Giroud being the backup, because Giroud I think is better than Tammy Abraham, and I do think Chelsea will finish third, but I do think they'll be challenging for the title. Right,
last up, let's put the top two together, because of course we know who the final two teams for our predicted tables are. To win the league, I think it's going to be Manchester City this year. Now that may be a bold claim given how good Liverpool were last year, but I feel like, you know, I don't know, there's just something about City this year. I feel like they might have that extra bit of desire to take the league back. Of course, they're always failing in the Champions League. If they can get Messi, that'll obviously boost their hopes as well. But I don't know what it is this year. I just feel like City will turn it around. You know, they were so poor last year. It can't be that far apart. You know, they can't be that far off Liverpool again this year. It's going to be a lot tighter in my opinion. And I don't know what it is, but I just feel like Man City are going to get over the line this year and Liverpool will finish second. Who do you think will be winning the league this year, mate?
Man City. Honestly, I don't want to be biased, so I don't really like Liverpool at all. But I just can't. Man City's depth is ridiculous. The potentially Koulibaly coming in, leaning on Messi. If Messi comes to the Premier League with Man City, that is just next level. That is, they'll be unstoppable. If they bring in Koulibaly and Messi, I can see them doing invincibles. I really can. I've put Liverpool second because of the squad depth. If Salah, Firmino or Mane get injured for a long period of time this season, they do not have a good enough backup. If Guerrero's get injured for City, they have Jesus. If Messi was to get injured for City, if he does sign, they have Mahrez. If De Bruyne was to get injured, they still won the league when De Bruyne was injured all season. He's their most valuable player. They got Bernardo Silva. They got Phil Foden. They have so much backup. It's unbelievable. But if Mane was to get injured, who do they have? Minamino. No, it's not good enough, you know. They rely too much on their players being fit. And same with Van Dijk. If he was to get injured for a long time, I can't see it happen. The guy's a beast. He doesn't get injured at all. But who do they have for backup, really, do it? I just don't see it. I think Liverpool will have another great season. I think they'll take Man City all the way, but I do think Man City will win it in the end.
Right, that is it for our Premier League predictions. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Keep it clean. And obviously let us know what you think and where you think every team is going to be finishing if you want to. If you haven't yet already, make sure you've hit the subscribe button and you have your notifications turned on. Like the video if you've enjoyed it. Follow us on all of our socials and we'll see you very soon for another video.